Call the Transportation Committee to order. Member Soldner and Bloomfield are absent. Everyone else is present. Let's see, we have 2A and B, the consent agenda, approval of minutes from August 8th, 2023. We do those together.
You can.
And the recommend approval of bills and transfers to the county board totaling $4,278,994.25. Do I have a motion? Motion by member Abel, second by member Abraham. Do you have any questions or comments? No? All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Number 3, appearance by members of the public or county employees.
We had no requests this
No
morning.
request, and no one just randomly showed up, so. We'll move on to number 4. 4A1, request approval of a resolution to establish a no parking zone on 100 North Road, Randolph Township. Do I have a motion? Motion by member Abel, second by member Abraham. Somebody wanna? Jared, do you wanna mention what?
Yeah, so Stacy Reese, Randolph Road Commissioner, brought this to our attention. He's kind of had some concerns. So this is going into the Magellan facility where they sell a lot of different types of fuel out of there, just south of Hayworth. And so it's a road, it's a hot mix road, 80,000 pound road from 136 down to their facility. And so the trucks are kind of parking on the road, and I do have a few pictures. So the first 3 pictures here are the road, and so this is kind of where they're parking, and they're tearing up the road. And so there's concern there, but then they're also parking on the road, and so here's a picture that the road commissioner had taken, and where they got 2 trucks kind of staging on the road, needing to turn in, and it's kind of hard for other vehicles and that type of thing to get around these trucks. And so I had there's some other video, but that he sent me, and when I tried to download it, it like turned the whole video upside down, so I didn't know how to get it right. But anyway, it's been kind of a concern for his, and so so he was wanting to put this request in there, and so about for a no parking zone for I think it was like 700 feet there, basically from this entrance, and try to make him stage all on the Magellan's property. We are in talks, or the township is in talks with the Magellan corporate company, I guess, about redoing the whole road, because it's coming up on 20 years, so they're going to redo the whole road, and then maybe putting in some parking, a parking area off the road here so they can get in and out. But I think in the meantime, he's kind of concerned, especially with harvest coming up, that there might be a problem. So this is kind of what he was wanting to do, and so we recommend making this a no parking zone.
Does anybody have any questions? Jack?
How is this going to impact their operations for the foreseeable future? Obviously, if a parking space comes to availability, that's going to be great for everybody. But for right now,
yeah, they're going to have to kind of figure out how they're going to stage their traffic coming in and there. They're going to have to try to stage 3 trucks at a time, or how many other trucks they get backed up. I think it's one of those deals where it's worse in the morning when everybody's waiting to get in once they open up, and then it calms down throughout the day. And then I think usually he said like Mondays and Fridays are worse. What we are talking about doing instead of this is maybe even putting in a gravel temporary to get them at least off the road enough to where people can get around safely. Because this is going to be pretty tough for implements and that type of stuff to get through there. And you can see the other truck coming at us. That's not a safe thing to do as well. So we're looking at maybe putting something temporary in, as far as like aggregate, putting in the ditch so they have a parking area, and then if we do the road, then hot mix everything all at once, and then make it actual spot for them.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
When they built this, is there a road use agreement that the Marathon has with the county?
There is, with the township, yes.
Township?
Yeah.
Do you have a copy of that?
Yes.
Can we get a copy?
think so.
Because if you've got 700 feet, what makes you think they're not just gonna back up on the other side of that sign and do the same thing?
Right. That, and I did mention that to the road commissioner, and there was a gamble he wanted to take. I think he was worried about the road falling apart here in this stretch, but yeah, they may move down the road. And I was like, we can't put no parking for a mile and a half. You know, that's kind of
Exactly.
and stuff. So I think if we work, I think there's a lot going on here with the road resurfacing, and that is in the road use agreement. And so we have a meeting set up here at the end of the month with them, with the folks from Magellan to kind of solve some of these issues.
What's the frequency of this? You have any idea?
I think it's daily. I don't, there might be a couple of the videos I had. They had like 6 or 7 semis lined up along the road. Here's only 2, but I think kind of ever since this kind of got going, there's been some discussions with people or the folks from Magellan, and so they've worked on how they're staging and trying to get the trucks in there a little bit better, where they're staging 2 or 3, side by side instead of single file. So.
Member Abel, did you have a question? So are the trucks, do they work are the drivers employees of the company, or are they all independent contractors?
They're all independent contractors, so.
And so the tickets are for the drivers, not the company.
Right. Yeah, so it's not necessarily hurting Magellan.
Is $25 really a deterrent?
Probably not.
But it's a step in the right direction there.
Right.
Member Reeves, do you have another question? No. Suggestion maybe?
No, I think you working with Magellan's a good idea. There's also a facility on the south side of the road. Is there any portion of those trucks that are going to the south facility?
No, that's a private entity, and he's got a lot of smaller trucks. I think he stages his trucks that he has on site there, and then, I mean, he does go to Magellan to get his fuel and everything, but he's not on the road.
But I mean, is it interfering with his business at all?
No, I don't believe so. That's never been brought forward anyway.
Is the end of this month enough time to address this before harvest starts? As far as trying to make enough room for them to get through?
I think so.
Is it?
Yeah. We're already talking to the road commissioner about doing something temporary there to get them off the road further. And so I think that can be done here in the next couple of weeks.
When you say we, who's building it? Is that?
We'll provide guidance to the township. I think the township said that they could take care of it, but they just need us to kind of lay it out and determine the limits and how far and the grades and that type of thing.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I got one. If you put a proposed, are you talking like another lane for those trucks to sit in?
Pretty much, yeah. It'll like fill the whole ditch in back to the right of way.
Oh, okay, so you're gonna have to put in culverts.
This is actually kind of at a high spot, so I think we might get away without having to put the culverts in.
But you won't have to buy any land.
No, I don't. It's not. I wouldn't go down that route at all. I think there's enough room to park in there. So I think once we hot mix the road, it'll solve the problem.
I got a general comment as a guy that drives a truck. It's a terrible situation because you're coming into a facility, you don't know if there's nobody there or there's 50 guys there, and there's no way to coordinate that. So as the guy sitting in the truck and you stroll up and there's a no parking sign there, they may not care about you and you get the ticket.
Right.
I understand both sides, right?
Right.
So it's a complicated situation. And usually the lowest paid guy is the one getting whacked. Because it goes on his record and all that kind of stuff.
So if you do the gravel lane, is it still gonna be no parking?
No, it would not. we would not put the no parking signs up if we had the gravel lane.
So they'll go up until the gravel lane goes in.
Right.
How much time before the resurfacing, if it was approved today, before the project's completed?
It'll be in 2024. So we're probably talking a year from
From
now.
now year.
And what about the gravel pit inside? How long would that take?
I'm not real sure. A week maybe.
Do you think you could do that before the winter? Would they have the capabilities of doing that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we could help them out if we need to. Anyway, as far as hauling rock to them and getting it.
Before it gets muddy?
Yeah.
Any other questions? All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
3-1, ayes have it. Next item on the agenda, 4A2, request approval on updates to county ordinance imposing weight limitations. Do I have a motion? Motion by member Abraham, second by member Abel. Mr. Stokes?
So this updates our county ordinance for our weight limits on each of our roads. And basically what it's doing is a lot of the roads over the last couple of years have been upgraded to 80,000 pound routes. And so some of them are 80,000 pound routes, and then some of them are what we consider class 2 truck routes. And the difference is usually on the class 2 truck routes, we get specific funding, and there's certain requirements that go along with the class 2 truck routes as far as that they connect in different state routes, 2 truck routes, and they have to be a certain width of the road. And so some of our recent construction projects, the Meadows Road from last year, the Horse Farm Road this year, and the Dammers Eaton Road are a couple of the roads that we've gotten tarp funds on. And then we've also done some other roads that have just been basically resurfacing projects that we've done. And those have been been designed for 80,000 pound loads at that time. So the ordinance kind of just changes the limits to where the 80,000 pound routes are at, and then also because there was like the Meadows Road went from a mile north of Lexington to the county line, and then our project from last year went from a mile north to Route 24. So there's still a mile left that wasn't upgraded, and it's still a 72,000 pound road, oil and chip road. So some of these were oil and chip roads that we've upgraded to 80,000 pounds, and some of them were not 80,000 pounds, but have since been resurfaced and are 80,000 pounds now. So all the stuff in bold are the roads that have been changed in the last couple of years, and we just try to keep this updated. And we send this information to IDOT to put in their. They got what they call an ITAP system for their that they do for permitting and the truck routes and that type of stuff. So it's all sent to them so they can update it and see where our 80,000 pounds and class 2 roads are at.
Do you have any questions? Member Reeves?
What about the use of electric semis in the future? The state's permitting at 82,000, or the federal's permitting at 82,000. This is definitely a step in the right direction.
I think if that becomes a statute in Illinois, then we'd have to address it and redo our whole ordinance to accommodate that.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
Anyone else? All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Move on to 4A3, request approval and amendment to the McLean County Code to permit installation of automatic license plate readers on county right-of-way, right-of-way. Do I have a motion? Motion by member Abraham, second by member Reeves.
So we got so last month we had the city of Leroy, we had an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Leroy to put up these license plate readers. And then since then, we received a permit for the city of Lexington. They were wanting to put in these readers as well. And so instead of doing intergovernmental agreements with each of these entities, we thought it'd be better to put it in our ordinance. So that way, and then the highway department would be the permitting authority, and then we would make sure that they're in the right location based on these requirements, and it'd be basically like another utility that we're permitting to go in the right of way is how we kind of viewed it. So this updates the ordinance to add the automatic license plate readers in here, and the stipulations on where they can go as far as the speed zone, how far off the road they can be, and then there's also a $250 fee for use in our right of way.
Anybody have any questions? Member Reeves?
You use the term speed zone, what do you mean by that?
So if on page 26 there in 3C, it depends on whether it's in like a 55-mile-an-hour zone.
The distance from the road based on the
Yes.
speed zone.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. So it depends on what, obviously if they're in town and they're behind curb, it's a little different than they're out in the rural area at 55 mile an hour. So I anticipate these mainly to be more in the urbanized area, in the 30 mile an hour zones, but they could be outside of that as well.
How's it determined who gets a permit?
Basically, we're it kind of relying on if the municipality wants to apply for it, to make sure that they're at least on board with it. They'll be the ones that apply to us for the permit, and then we'll work with them and the installer of the license plate readers.
And all those contracts are gonna look relatively the same as like Leroy's did.
No, not anymore. It'll just go through our permitting process, and we actually have a highway department permit that they'll have to fill out and then give us all they'll give us basically plans and dimensions and show us where they're gonna put it, what type of camera they're gonna put, and everything like that. And then that'll be all part of the permit process. We'll review it, go out and make sure that it's okay, and then sign off on it.
Are there any limitations or specifications for the cameras?
Not. We're more concerned about placements and stuff like that. I don't know as far as like limitations of what the cameras can't do. I was more concerned about making sure that they're off the road enough so nobody hits them or snowplows don't hit them, and making sure that they're in the right location. They're not blocking sight distance.
The only reason I ask is I know one of the sticking points of the Leroy contract was like using these cameras for speed traps. Is there any kind of way to account for that? Would you get your permit revoked if you started using these cameras for tracking speed?
Yeah,
I think we have legal counsel will.
It is one of the conditions in the ordinance is that municipalities using the cameras for petty offenses, which include speeding tickets, shall be subject to a permit revocation by the county engineer. So it's for use for speeding or other kinds of essentially a traffic offense for which no jail time can be served, then the permit can be revoked.
Any other questions? Nope. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. We'll move on to 4B1, project summaries. Sure.
So the first one is Horse Farm Road. I don't think I have any pictures of that one today, but they have the first layer of asphalt was placed on that road, so it calmed a lot of the dust down and everything. So looking at the second lift towards the end of the week, and then sometime maybe in the middle of next week, put the final lift on. And so hopefully by the end of the month, that project's all wrapped up and ready to go. I think they've got to get some other minor issues. Not issues, but they'll have to put the shoulders on after they get the hot mix on, and then come back and regrade everything, add some guardrail, and then start seeding and everything. So it should be, as long as the weather holds out, by the end of the month, I would think is kind of the schedule they're looking at. So so that's been a good project. The next one, the Chenoa Road, that's going from Route 24 to Route 66, and that's just the resurfacing project. They had the first layer placed, and they need to. So we got to put the final lift on. There's some sidewalk work and some other intersection work that they have to do, and so hopefully they're back in the next couple weeks as well. The next project is the Hoffman Bridge, and so I got some pictures of that. So this is kind of right after they poured it, or poured the piers and the abutments, and so they're what they're doing is they're taking out the cofferdams here to where they had where they put sheet pile all the way around, and they poured inside it, and then so they're getting ready for the beam placements. So there's just a couple more pictures of this with the riprap underneath there, and then and so like on the other side they got the riprap, and so this here is where they were digging out for the riprap to get placed, and this is on the west side of the road, and so this is the kind of the day they did this last Wednesday, Thursday. They set the beams. It took them 2 days, and so this is the first beam that they set that day, and then here's the rest of them. So you can kind of see there's like what they call splice plates here. So they actually put the beams together on the ground and then set them in place. And just some more pictures of that. There's kind of a side view, so you kind of can see the side plate, the splice plate there. Here's a picture of the hydraulic crane that they use to place the beams, and so this is they're on the west side on this picture, but they started on the east side, set all the east side beams. They have to tear the crane down, move it, drive it all the way around the section, and then come back and then set it on the east side. And so they got to build a big pad in here to do that. And so that's done. So they'll start forming the deck, and that'll probably take them 4 to 6 weeks before they actually come back and pour the concrete on the deck. So, any questions on that project? And then the next project is the Danvers-Uton Road. So they've completed all the widening on that project, and they started putting the first lift asphalt down on Friday, and so then they're going to continue that for the next 3 or 4 days, and then they got to come back and do a little sidewalk work and then get ready for the final surface. So a lot of these projects should be done here, or pretty close to being done in the next month, so we'll be in good shape. I do have some pictures. So on the Danvers Carlock Road, we did 4-foot widening, and so we stockpiled all the material kind of near McLean County Asphalt plant, and then what we did is our crews went in there and screened the material out, and we've been using it for shoulders on a lot of our roads on the west side of the county. And I think we're probably going to be doing like 40 or 50 miles of shoulder work, using recycling and using the material that came off the Danvers-Uton Road. So I just got a few pictures of our crews kind of doing that. So this is a picture of our grader that's hooked up to a front end machine, and then the truck backing into it. And then so we have a broom with a plow in the front that cleans off the road, and then the tractor back here is a wheeled compactor compacting everything in place. And so I think there's another picture of that, and I do have a video here that kind of shows the first machine a little bit better. So this is what we call the front end machine that we have, and then we can adjust the width on it. We can go out like 2 to 6 feet on that, and so then they just go down the road. So they were able to cover a lot of ground. I think there's still a lot of material left that we're going to be able to use yet in the next couple weeks. So that's just kind of a side benefit from the Dameron Eaton Road that we were able to take advantage of. So any questions on any of those projects?
About 4B2, motor fuel tax allotment summary.
Yeah, so this, I just hadn't maybe included this in a while, so just kind of wanted to kind of give an update on where we were at, with the motor fuel tax. And everything, so, we're running above what we budgeted, like our average allotments are 320,000, so that's been good. There's first, from February, March, and April, we're down a little bit, but I think that's when the Department of Revenue take some certain fees off the top, and so then those allotments aren't as high, but we've made up everything since then. So just kind of wanted to give you an idea of how things are tracking, and we'll probably talk more about that next month.
Any questions? Alright. 5A, Director or Administrator Taylor.
Nothing to present for this today.
Other business and communications. Our next meeting is October 3rd at 8 a.m. Does anybody have anything else? Nope. Then I guess we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.